Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com, and it's Mid-Year Mayhem, or they renamed it White Strix. I want to show you my top 5 favorite builds that you need to use if you want to dominate in ESO PvP. And here they are. And up in number 5 spot, believe it or not, is a comeback of my beloved Magicka Templar. Here's what we got. So what I did is I changed this build into a single target killer at range, because really that's what the Magicka Templar does now currently, instead of dive bombing in and using puncturing sweeps. So I went with a 5-piece gear set, Snakes in the Stars up front. What this is gonna do, major and minor debuff, it's gonna apply the Star Venom, which is gonna really do a lot of oblivion damage to it when they're heal stacking. This is going to kill those super annoying mega tanks out there. So we're gonna pair Snakes in the Stars with a kind of odd main spam build, which is Dark Flare. Dark Flare is a channel, hits really hard at range. It can be avoidable, but also it comes with major defile, reducing healing received by 16%. This or another skill called Power of the Light, which reduces armor via minor breach, will proc the Snakes in the Stars set, essentially allowing you to sit at range, debuff enemies that are constantly healing themselves and super annoying, along with the best execute in the game, Radiant Glory. It's a perfect fit for an absolute nuclear missile range build, and it works very, very well. Now, I go as stage 3 vampire with this build because I have crazy mobility. So I go a fire staff on the front, frost staff on the back. I use that elusive miss skill to get away. And this works fantastic for staying alive, keeping your distance at range. Think of it almost like a magic sorcerer with a much better single target execute. So here's a look at my skills and my gear chart fully. If you want all the details, check the link in the description below for the entire build. But it centers around single target damage, has great elusiveness, and is really fun to play. Up next is our number 4 position, and shockingly a lot of fun. Stick with me here, is an Oaken Soul One Bar Stamina Nightblade bow build that actually works and doesn't suck. Let me explain. So with the Oaken Soul ring, you get a lot of major buffs and a bit of minor buffs. So the minor buffs are really going to increase your damage, along with not allowing you to have to cast all of your armor buffs and a bunch of other things to maintain. This build is super simple. With the bow too, you get the hasty retreat passive when you do a dodge roll, so you're super fast. And what I discovered with the Oaken Soul setup, if you use a 5-piece gear set, Danger Trick Daddy, what it does is it provides a lot of these major buffs. So it'll provide major expedition, protection, mending, heroism, or vitality. Those major buffs stack with the minor buffs provided by Oaken Soul. So no, this isn't an all-out damage build, but it will have crazy survivability, and you don't have to really bar swap at all to maintain high survivability using both your magic and stamina pool. So that's going to be the first 5-piece gear set. I use kind of an odd main spam build with this, which is Acid Spray. Acid Spray is not the hardest hitting main spam build in the game, but what it does do is pair very well with a 5-piece gear set called Scavenging Demise. It fires off a crazy little scavenging maul that hits like an absolute jackhammer if you do critical poison damage. Well, on a Nightblade, we have a guaranteed critical chance with Shadowy Disguise. So we go Cloak, we hit someone with Acid Spray, we spawn this maul that hits extremely hard. The nice thing about Acid Spray is it does a lot for you in one skill. It's AoE. It's a decent main spam build, and it has damage over time. And I guess a fourth thing is it procs the Scavenging Demise. So you pair a 5-piece gear set for survivability, Scavenging Demise, and you stack a little bit of resource sustain. You can Cloak, run stage 3 Vampire, be super survivable, high speed, high burst, a lot of fun. Here's a look at all of the skills in the gear chart that I currently use. As I'll always say, check the website for complete details, but here's a quick glance. Moving on to our number 3 position, and of course it's a Dragonknight, but this time I'm using a 1-bar Oaken Soul build, and what I think is the strongest Oaken Soul build in PvP. It's a magic up close and personal Dragonknight. What the strength of the magic Dragonknight is with Oaken Soul is you just have crazy resource sustain. So what you do is kind of like the Stamina Nightblade, you're going to use Daedric Trickery. The really nice thing about Daedric Trickery, specifically to the Dragonknight, is the major heroism. So with Oaken Soul, you're going to be getting a lot of ultimate minor heroism. You stack both of those on top of each other, and essentially you can almost get ultimates back to back to back, especially if you're killing other players. So Oaken Soul and Daedric Trickery on a DK decay, you can live in corrosive armor. Corrosive armor, the most powerful ultimate in the game. It makes you almost unkillable, and you ignore direct damage attacks. So you constantly use this at 200 ulti, and you're always really close. You can go with a fire staff for a little bit more range on the front, or you can go dual wield and play super melee aggressive. Another thing that makes the Dragonknight just absolutely god tier with Oaken Soul is Chains of Devastation. This chains acts as a mobility tool, a gap closer, and it grants major berserk, which Oaken Soul lacks. So you can just literally chains whip, chains whip, chains whip. And I'm not talking about your personal life. Moving on, and it has a really good, robust magic and stamina pool. You can do great damage, really good survivability, play super up close and personal, and constantly pop ultimates with big damage. Here's a look at the gear chart and the skill loadout. Keep in mind, it is flexible depending on what weapons you want to use, if you want more range or not. Fantastic choice. Moving on to our number 2 position, and something I really like playing, which is kind of different, and that's a bow Sorc. I play this in a variety of different ways. I play it for group, I play it for solo, and I absolutely love it. Whether you do bow, sword and shield, bow frost staff, you have a lot that you bring to a group, and it's really good for an Imperial City because it's one of the only classes that can just get away. You get to dictate the fight. So you're down in Imperial City, you can be highly mobile, dictate the fight. You get overwhelmed, just zip on out. And the Sorc has a lot of survivability and burst in comparison to pure magic. Love this. Here's what I use. So on the bow Sorc build, you have a solo and a group loadout. So I'm gonna assume you're a solo player and that's what you want to do. There is the critical piece monster helm, Vraska the Warp. This is a new monster helm that came out. It acts kind of like Death Dealer's Fate. The longer you're in combat, the more recovery you can get. At max stats, this is almost the equivalent of running Wretched Vitality 5-piece. It carries your resource sustain. Unlike Engine Guardian, the droid doesn't spawn randomly and it doesn't line of sight or get killed, so it just constantly gives you resources. You're gonna pair that with Way of Fire heavy armor set. Way of Fire is one of the sweatiest, hardest damage producing proc sets in the game. It will hit like a jackhammer. Comes in Kraghorn, you can buy it on the traders. And you're gonna pair that with Backbar Rallying Cry to get crit resistance and also weapon and spell damage. The Sorc is kind of unique. It's one of the only classes that really doesn't have that much impact for Sea Serpent Coil Mythic, because the snare, while it is annoying, you can just use streak to get away. So you're highly mobile, you have incredibly high weapon damage, major berserk when Sea Serpent Coil procs, and your proc set will be absolute single target killer with Vraska the Warp, great resource sustain. So this is what you're gonna wanna run around Imperial City sewers. You can swap some skills out like Bombard and Plague Break for group play. One of the best, quickest mobility classes and playstyles. Super fun. You gotta try it out. Here's a quick look at my bow setup, mainly aimed at solar players. One thing of note, Hardened Ward you can use now because shields scale off of either max health or max magic. So if you have heavy armor, a decent health pool of 32 to 40,000, shields are actually halfway effective to survive on a Sorc. Moving on to the granddaddy of them all, if you're playing this during Mid-Year Mayhem, this is the 2H Carve Bomber build for the Dragonknight. Yes, I know, the Stamina Dragonknight's #1. It's my baby now. Anyways, with this, you're gonna be able to take out massive groups. I've made it pretty tanky. So this is probably the best bomber in the game if you want to play independent of a healer, solo, or if you want to go Zerg down massive, huge armies, you will be survivable. This is how it works. So the Master's build is centered on a couple of different really important gear pieces. The first being the 2H that comes from Dragonstar Arena, Perfected Titanic Cleave. Increases the direct damage cleave by 1550 for each enemy in the cone. So the more enemies you hit, this does incredible damage. You're going to pair that with Plague Break, which blows up if someone dies and does a cascade effect. So you really only need to kill one player. And how do you get all the players to be in the center? Well, that's Dark Convergence. You throw down a rune, and I use the Mage's Guild skill, Volcanic Rune, because it does a little delayed stun and knocks people in the air. You chuck that on your back bar, you switch while you're in Corrosive Armor, which ignores 100% of direct damage armor, and you use a great sword for that reason, and you start carving or brawling and absolutely blasting players. I use the Morph Brawler because it does give a huge damage shield. I like being super survivable. So if I'm hitting a bunch of enemies, I can stay in the fight with or without a healer, just sitting there spamming Brawler. Carve, the other morph, gives you a little bit of damage over time, which is technically better for your pure raw damage, but I like being survivable. And so that's what I run. And on this build specifically, I use a one-piece mythic on my helm, Gaze of Sithis. The reason why is I like to be super tanky, and I'm not going to be blocking a lot with this. So with Gaze of Sithis on, I get tons of armor, max health, and it allows me to be pretty tanky, jumping in the fights without getting blown up. But as you can see from this footage, you're absolutely lethal, killing massive amounts of enemy players. It is so fun. Here's a quick look at the gear charts along with the skills if you want to play this build. So let's quick run down the top 5 favorite PvP builds right now currently in the game. Hope you enjoy this PvP event. It's a lot of fun. It's not for everybody. For the next 2 weeks, depending on when you watch this video, it will be a blast. Also, we'll get another one in late June after the Necrom chapter launches. I will update these builds if anything changes and also get some Arcanist builds to you. Check the links in the description below and check the website. As always, check me out on twitch.tv/Deltiasgaming where my mom claims I'm the best streamer alive. Appreciate you.